Sure you can. Hey everybody, welcome back to Divulgence. Today I'm very, very pleasured to have and excited to have Crrow777 on the show. Crow, what's going on, my friend? Thanks so much for being here.
Hey man, just living the life, and thank you so much for having me.
For sure, my friend, for sure. Well, I've been watching some of your interviews and your works for quite a few years now, as we spoke about off show. However, can you maybe tell us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been doing this, and some of the stuff that particularly interests you?
Well, I have wide interests, and all my interests, I go across as many cultures and as old information as I can get. Usually for me, older information is better or more interesting to me anyhow. I usually state that it's, like behind the modern edit that really began to take off in this country in the early 1900s. Things were really, really changing. And anyone who goes back to like the 1800s and looks at the information, you can notice the difference. But I've been at this well over a decade. I became a public figure in the fall of 2013. And at that time, I was doing telescope work, shooting chemtrails, trying to inform people that it wasn't normal. Not many people were buying back then. And daytime telescopic and camera filming of the sky. It was in 2012 that I shot the first known lunar wave. A year later, in 2013, I posted that. 30 days after I posted that, the flat earth movement just took off, and they were all referencing the stuff I was shooting. And there it is. It got crazy quick. When the first lunar wave posted, people had not seen anything like that, and it did cause a stir.
Oh, I'm sure it would, especially given the time and kind of where we were with technology and stuff. It's picking up, but obviously not where it is today and the understandings we have now. So what is it? We're obviously going to talk about some of it today. So what is it that you're into now? Primarily, I think you mentioned telescopic work. I think that's one of your big things still. Is that correct?
Well, all these years later, I saved up for years and years, and I bought a very high-end solar telescope because it's my point of view that the sun is in lockstep with what we call the age change. The sun's a big deal in so many ways, and it gets misrepresented by the mainstream all the time. Like a couple days ago, they're going on about their X-class flare and how it's going to be terrible. It's not what it's about. Those are, for lack of better terms, spiritual updates when it's aimed at us like that. The sun gives us everything we need to be alive. It's directly related to the spiritual side of us and dang near everything else. So I started filming the sun. Let's see, this will be my third season with that telescope. 2 years ago, I began in March and I shot that season, and that seemed to be, I'm not sure yet, but that seemed to be the solar maximum in terms of activity. Last year when I shot, there was less activity, but there were still some pretty big events that I filmed. And I was able to log on once. Winter is just ending for us, and you can't really use a scope like I have in cold weather. Matter of fact, I shot yesterday. It was too cold to do that. I had difficulty, but there was almost no activity. And I'll have to shoot through the season to see where we are. But all of that content that I'm shooting now is posted at Crrow777radio.com for members. And along the way, people started asking for stills. So I post the stills. You can actually see those on the website. Some of the solar stills I've made. There were a lot of requests for them. So I made them, some of them print really large, but it can show the average person what it looks like to view the sun in hydrogen alpha, which is the wavelength I'm filming it in. And that allows you to see much more detail than shooting in just plain white light.
How much, if you don't mind me asking, how much did the telescope cost? I'm just curious as to like
a lot, thousands.
Okay. And what was your drive to want to get something of that quality? Like, what's the difference between your average telescope between what you're able to do with yours?
So when I was shooting back in the lunar wave days, I had an 8-inch American-made Meade telescope. 8 inches, pretty big scope. It was one of the first early fully robotic go-to scopes. The whole time that I used that scope, all I was ever trying to do was upgrade the camera, get better quality film. So when I had decided I want to go with the sun, I knew darn well I wasn't going to start small or try to just get something. And by the way, back in those days, I had a solar telescope, but it was very low end. I only paid about $3,600 for it. And if you go to YouTube, you can see my old solar footage. It's not even in the same ballpark as what I'm shooting now. So I made up my mind that if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it as well as I can. So I bought my telescope from Lunt, and they told me and my partner that I do this with along the way that only 3 people in North America had purchased a scope of that size, an amateur. So it's 130 millimeter, and it has what's called an etalon on it. Actually, it's got 2. It's double stacked. And what that does is it knocks down all the surface brightness and knocks out all the other wavelengths and allows in certain hydrogen alpha wavelengths. And actually, I'll go over, let me see, I've got to hit, give me just a second. I'm going to hit this on not logged in so you can see this. So I'm going to kick you a link down in the chat so you can get an idea of what it actually means to see the sun in hydrogen alpha.
There we go.
So those are just I made a film called Shoot the Moon with my partner Jason that has 10 awards in the world, and that covers all my older telescope work. The last 2 awards came from India, but if you go down, you'll see some stills that are solar. Actually, that one's of the moon with a full spec camera. But if you keep going, you can see the prominences. You can see sunspots. You can click on those. I think they get a little bit bigger. Not much. Those are sunspots in the hydrogen alpha wavelength.
So, and sorry, what is a sunspot? We're not looking at the sun, right?
Yeah, you're looking directly at the sun.
Okay, we are.
You're looking at the face of the sun. If you were looking with a normal camera and a filter so that it knocked down 98% of the brightness and you could just look at it with your eyes, that would just appear as a black dot to your eyes, a sunspot. People are familiar with them. But what I'm doing here is shooting it in a wavelength, and the way it works is I'll shoot maybe 2,000 or maybe even 5,000 frames. Then I'll sort the video frames to get the best of them, which is usually about 50 to 75% of the good frames, and I stack them all together so the contrast goes up. And then I process. Everything there is as the camera sees it, except for one thing, and that's the color. I shoot in black and white, and the reason I shoot in black and white is to get the maximum detail that it's possible to capture. And then I assign a color because your eye kind of expects to see a yellow or an orange or something to associate it with the sun. But there's a good shot of the black and white after I've processed and not added color.
I like the black and white. Wow.
They're pretty impressive. And those are 2 sunspots in a filament.
9/11. Wow. There we go. Wow, that's really nice.
I made some of those so they'll print up to like 55 inches. And we've had some subscribers get some of them, print them on these big like PVC canvases, and they've sent me images. It's really cool. That's Rose's favorite image of a sunspot.
Wow, really powerful. Wow.
It is a privileged view. Back when I started doing this, an amateur could not have hoped to get access to views like this.
Yeah, man. Like this is some really so some of these are quite old, you're saying?
No, I mean I got
these more recent ones.
This is my 3rd season. Some of those are going to be from last spring and summer, and some the spring and summer before. So 24, 25, and 26 will be my 3rd year with this telescope.
Oh, right. Sorry, the dates are right there. Oh,
So there's an image where the sunspot has been inverted. It's white, and what you do is you invert the image, and and everyone does it. It shows more 3D when you invert it.
okay. So you inverted the black and white and then colored it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you just simply invert the black and white and then add color as you ever
Yeah.
would. But if you go through, there'll be some in there where the prominences are really impressive. The kind of flame looking things coming off the side are called prominences. There's a blackout shot that shows just the prominences at the right.
Oh, sorry. Oh, right here.
Yeah. So I blacked out the disc so you could just see the prominences. The sun is an amazing, amazing thing. And every time I shoot, there's something different. So, and I should say, near the end of last season, I shot the lunar wave on the sun. So there's now a solar wave.
Wow. Really cool, man. Really cool stuff. I guess I should ask, what are your thoughts on because I'm sure the audience would be curious as well. What are your thoughts on flat Earth? Is that something you subscribe to?
I don't join groups, for one thing. So even if I believed a major portion of what they believed, I still would not be a part of that group. I don't want to inherit belief systems. I like firsthand observation and working with my own logic, and I present it. I do not accept what NASA's put forward. The best model that impresses me the most is the one Tycho Brahe put forward, where the Earth is stationary and at the center. I recently did an episode on a Jesuit priest from the 1600s named Riccioli. And as a matter of fact, I hope I can get this into the chat. Let me see if I can get this into the chat and I'll blow your mind. Oh, good. I think it's going to let me. Can I put an image in the chat here?
I don't know if you can do that with StreamYard, actually.
Let me try.
Oh, you can share screen.
Copy. Give me just a second. No, I don't think it's going to let me. Too bad. Let me see. Let me shut some things down here real quick, and I'll try to share the screen.
No problem, man.
So I'll open this up. I'm going to show you an image of the sun from the early 1600s. This image is created because of a Jesuit priest named Riccioli. He was as educated as they get back then, and I'm currently of a mind that they're probably better educated than the most educated of us now. Let me see if I can pull this off. Share screen. Just a second. Share screen, and I should be able to choose. There we go. Let me know if you can see this.
There we go. Okay.
So this is an image of the sun that was drawn. And what's blowing my mind here is they had to have been able to see in the hydrogen alpha wavelength to draw this picture. And what's more, you'll notice that it's a cutaway at the top of the sun. You can see where it's cut away, and it's like you're looking at what's lower, and at the bottom it's cut away. So like the whole middle section is like the next level deep.
Okay.
So what they've drawn here is all those little flames are called spicules. You can't see those unless you're in hydrogen alpha. All the prominences that look like smoke, I mean, at times, if they're big and bright enough, you might be able to get an idea of them in white light, but not really. You really have to be looking in hydrogen alpha or some other wavelength to start to get this kind of detail. And this was done in the early 1600s. And one of the things they were doing was building a room that was dark with a window, letting the sunlight come through the window, capturing it, and guiding it to a pool of water, a still pool of water. And I'm still trying to figure out how they pulled this off. But that detail is better than I can do with my extremely expensive hydrogen alpha telescope in 2026.
Wow. Do you think that that in the past they had better technology or
I
similar
do.
technology than?
Yeah, I think it was better. Even if it doesn't always rival, it was better because it was all derived from nature. And it is my point of view that all truth resides and is proven in nature. We can't make up truth. We can only recognize it. And when I started doing this years ago, as most people know that begin to become aware of what our world's really about, you get depressed at a point. You feel like, why am I even doing this? What's even the point to any of this? And when you get past it, one of the things that helped me get past it is one day I realized I wanted to know, what is truth? Have we ever even seen truth? And it dawned on me, of course we have. We're surrounded by it every day. The natural world is where all truth resides. And once I realized that, everything changed for me. And I realized that I had chose to live my life paying attention to lies that were presented to me in mainstream systems. And anytime I want, I can opt out of those and go back to where truth resides. And hence, I'm using a telescope to examine the so-called light of this world. And that is not a shot at anyone's spiritual tradition. That is a fact. Without this, we don't have light. Without this, we don't have plants, we don't have oxygen, we don't have water, we don't have anything that we require to be here. And what's more, the mainstream constantly tries to smear the sun with fear porn. One of the first things they do is try to get you to rub toxic heavy metals on your skin because this will burn your skin and cause cancer. I'm calling poppycock. Another thing, as a matter of fact, they're demonstrating now that to be healthy, you need that sunlight. But another thing is, years ago, I begun to sun gaze, and I guess I should do this warning. Don't go out and look at the sun. You can damage your eyes for good. You need to know what you're doing, and you need to gradually get into it. And I always make the joke, you wouldn't feed a baby a jalapeno. But to get back to the point, when I sun gazed, I realized all the more how critically important the sun is. One thing that happened is my vision got better from simply staring at the sun. And I got up to 40 minutes straight staring at the sun. And with my bare feet grounded on the ground, my vision got better. And then I started doing it and realizing I was being energized. I walked away from each session feeling energized. My intuition got better. And that's when I began to realize that when they do things like they did 2 days ago, oh my God, there's an X-class flare pointed at Earth and it's going to knock out telecommunications and it could destroy a city or whatever nonsense they're saying. No, that is our upgrade. That blast of solar energy headed towards us is what, for lack of better terms, it's like a computer system upgrade. Exactly like that. And we are in a time where, if you haven't realized and you look around, many people who were not that spiritual not too long ago, they're starting to take an interest in spiritual ideas. And that is a sign of the times, because most of us are fed up with what's been going on and the world of nonsense and lies and absolute disregard for human life that's been going on. And these are some of the reasons that I took a big interest. But this image, every time I look at it, it blows me away.
It's really cool, man. It's very interesting. And I appreciate everything you're saying, actually. I just want to go back to what you said about, essentially, you have your own beliefs, but you don't like to ascribe to any groups. I love that. I just wanted to say I appreciate that, because that's kind of how I tend to be as well. I don't like the idea of being, capped off into a group that kind of gets labeled, and then you just get labeled and misunderstood.
They expect you to believe what they believe, and if you have a new idea that doesn't fit with their canon of what's acceptable, I'm just not having any of it.
Yeah, they expect you to believe what they believe, like you said, and then on the flip side of the coin, though the other, everyone else just assumes that you believe what they believe for the most part. So yeah, I don't like to do that either, and I appreciate that. Going back to the sun gazing real quick, we have had someone come on the show before, a lovely woman, Aurora, who claims to be a walk-in. She came in and was talking about sun gazing. That was a while back, though. Can you just give a couple quick tips to add to the ones that you've already shared? Because you don't necessarily directly look at it, right? There's a method of looking at it without directly.
No, you directly look at it directly.
Oh, really?
So I'm going to say some things here, but before
You
I
start
say
off,
anything,
you start off with not directly looking at it, though. You work your, like you said, you gradually, right?
I'll explain it, but I'm going to start by saying this. I'm not advising you to look at the sun. I'm telling you that if you go look at the sun and you don't know what you're doing, you will almost certainly damage your eyes. And it is quite probable that you'll damage them in a way that can't be fixed. Okay? People can go look up, and maybe you can't these days on YouTube, it's so censored. But back in the day, there used to be folks from India who used to talk about how you do it. So I'm not going to tell you how to do it. I'm going to tell you about a video I saw 20 years ago. What the video said is, first of all, when you start sun gazing, you look at the sun within 45 minutes of sunrise or 45 minutes of sunset. The reason for that is because it's going through, the light is going through the maximum amount of atmosphere, and there's less UV. The video said that when you begin, you take off your shoes, you ground your feet on the earth. The best place is in the sand at the beach, probably. And you look at the sun for 2 seconds. Then you shut your eyes, you look directly into the sun for 2 seconds, and you shut your eyes and you cover them with your hands until the glow goes away. The next day, well, actually, I think it's 1 second. The next day, you double that and you do it for 2 seconds. The next day, you double that and you go for 4 seconds. And actually, that might not be right. I think after you double it up to 5 seconds, you add 3 or 4 seconds a day, and you gradually work your way up. When I was able to do it a lot, when I was still living in California, I could stare straight into the sun at noon. No problem. But here in Rhode Island, we have a little thing called winter, so there's a lot of time when you can't sun gaze. But anyone who goes and learns how to do it properly, it's amazing. It heals you. It energizes you. It upgrades your intuition and thinking. It corrects vision. I've talked to 5 other people who have had their vision corrected. It's amazing. But again, I'm not advising you to sun gaze. And if you stare at the sun, you could seriously hurt your eyes.
Gotcha. Right on, man. I appreciate that. So can you maybe get into, I know today we were going to get into sky clock, time cycles. Can you maybe, where would you like to start with that, my friend?
Well, do you have anything specific? I mean, I guess I can start by saying it should be pretty obvious to most people that we're entering a new era right now. That's what this is about. And I guess having said that, I would try to dispel the idea that this is the end of the world. Well, I don't have a crystal ball, so I can't see the future any better than anyone else. What I can say is I'm quite familiar with nature, where all truth resides. And what nature taught me is every ending is a new beginning. Everything in this world is cyclical. And so as we go into this new era, it is my sense of things that the so-called vibration or frequency of the time is elevating. And if I'm correct in that, you can't have low vibrational things in a high vibrational environment. What that means is all these old vibrational systems that are very low, that we've known all our lives, they have to go away now.
What are there any specific events that you can speak to that you've been kind of keying in on that help you get this this idea?
Well, there are, of
Feeling,
course,
sorry.
that the ages, the Kali Yugas from India, which goes back Lord knows how many millennia, they have counts of very long cycles of time. But I think the most obvious thing is look at the world around us. We've never seen anything like this. It feels like everything is crumbling to the ground. It feels like the importance of a human being and the needs of a human being have been thrust in the back seat compared to almost everything else. Businesses, corporations, how people make money. If you do nothing more than look at the world around you, you can tell that there are big changes occurring now. Well, why is that? Well, it's because the people who run this joint, who just openly admitted they're the evilest people in this world because they released files proving it, they knew this cycle change was coming, and they're trying to leverage it in the way they want. They want the new era to be an era where they control everything and you own nothing. That's what they want. And they want to use technology to police it.
I also think that another kind of political aspect to it, I think, is that, like, it's Trump, but it's not just Trump. It's his administration. It's like the other people who kind of, not all his supporters, but maybe some of that mega base. But for the most part, Trump and his administration and these people that have not only been assigned to these very important roles, but Congress people, senators, you name it, that have, kind of bent the knee to Trump. He keeps pushing the envelope on everything and anything that you can basically do in that office. And I think that is going to reflect on the rest of the world big time over the next, I think it already is, but I think it's going to continue to over the next few years of his administration. And then what are we left with afterwards? What is going to happen? So I think that's really significant as well.
In the 1800s, there was a head Mason. I think he was in Washington, D.C. I don't know. His name was Albert Pike. And he wrote a book called Dogmas because he was the top Mason. He predicted World War I before it happened. He predicted World War II before it happened. And he predicted World War III. About 3 or 4 weeks ago, our president took us to a war that almost nobody wants, telling us we'd be there for a couple weeks. As I speak now, and I don't watch the news, so I'm guessing, but someone told me yesterday that 15 or 20 other countries are now involved or something like this.
Yeah.
Now, if Albert Pike got the first 2 wars right, this third one he predicted, and a lot of people I know said he's going to go into the Middle East and he's going to try to start World War III. Well, if he does that, for what? There's not a lot of people that I know around here that are into this in any way, shape, or form, and they'd be even less so if it was their children going.
Yeah. Yeah.
I served in the Marine Corps during the first Gulf War.
Well, thank you for that.
So I know a little bit something about the American military. And during the first Gulf War, it was bizarre to say the least, but then we did it again. And after we did that, we did it. There's never been a time in recent history where this country has not been fighting somewhere for some ridiculous cause. Look at Afghanistan. Just one day they said, guess what? We're out of here, guys. And they literally left. For what? What was gained? Yeah, I mean, it's just this war machine that keeps going. But this time, a lot of smart people said that he was going to do it before he did it. And they said he's going to do his damnedest to push this out into a third world war. I don't have a crystal ball, but I'm a bit tired of war. I think we're entering an era where that's a thing we don't do anymore. We certainly don't have armies like we used to. A war now is more like a video game than it is where 2 armies face each other on a battlefield.
Yeah, absolutely.
In these times, that's all the worse because it's easier to achieve. You don't have to mobilize hundreds of thousands of people and equipment. in the same way and feed them and all the things that goes with it. But
It's like
yeah,
Battleship.
most people I talk to are coming to respect life more and more as time goes on. And the idea of killing like this just isn't something they're going to get behind. Why can't these men learn how to talk at a table and compromise with one another like the rest of the world does?
Because it's getting dangerous now, because the more it can only escalate to a certain point before it just goes nuclear. And yeah, you're right, it's just turned into a video game, and the more technology we have, the more destruction that can be done with a push of a button, or a phone call confirmation, or any kind of simple deployment measure that it don't involve boots on the ground, or like you said, any significant coordination. You just need some intel, a target, yada yada, and yeah, you can do some serious damage. And soon it's gonna, the flexing. Like I said, the flexing is going to get to a point where it goes nuclear, and then I can see that what you're saying about no more war, where that could come into place, because maybe people realize, like, okay, it's not worth destroying the whole world over it.
I don't accept that nuclear weapons exist as described at any level.
Really? Okay. Can we talk about that a little bit? What are your thoughts on?
I have a full episode on it. It's a very detailed conversation to have, and I have a full episode on it on Crrow777 Radio. The first hour is free to everybody. I'm not alone in this. There are a lot of people, and we had a guy on who was I forget, was he an engineer or physics? He was a German guy, so smart, and he wrote a book demonstrating why nuclear weapons don't exist as described. You could shoot a note to Rose if you want to get the numbers on those. And I think it is so cut and dry that I started to dig in deeper. And I've always questioned, like, all these elements that are against the law to have. I began to realize they used to use radium and other things they are now illegal to hold on to. I think it's just like everything else. They control the things they don't want the public to have access to. But the nuclear weapons things, you've seen conventional explosions, large amounts of TNT, and you've seen faked film from, Lookout Mountain there in the canyon, whatever the name of that place is. Jason and I covered that as well. And you see ridiculous things. Like, I remember Anthony Bourdain, before he changed his character role, going into Chernobyl, and he's wearing like this little x-ray badge, and you'll be fine as long as you're there for this magical amount of minutes. And the truth is, wildlife is flourishing there like you've never seen. And then, of course, they produce videos of a three-eyed possum to try to convince you it's true, and things like this. The Bikini Atoll, right? People still can't go back to the Bikini Atoll. Well, I've got a problem with that. If nuclear radiation destroys cells, then how is there a single fish or tree living there if it's so polluted? Because those trees are getting polluted water and polluted soil. Every crab they show you has eaten polluted fish. It's all nonsense. There was never a time in Hiroshima or Nagasaki when living people, living plants, and drinkable water didn't exist.
So, okay, I was just going to ask your thoughts on the Manhattan Project, actually. So, I guess that kind of sums up some of it. You think, well, I guess maybe you're saying that the Manhattan Project could have been real, but
I'm sure they were creating technology. They never stopped. I mean, the thing about the people who run the world now is they've hung every hope that they possess on technology. Science is the be all and end all. Spiritual things, not so much. If you can't put it on a scale and weigh it, they're not interested.
Okay. So how do you see this new world order coming in? What do you think their agenda is for that?
Well, you saw part of the agenda on the guidestones. They want to reduce the population a lot, so there's less people to contend with. They got rid of a lot of people starting in 2020. I know 15 people that aren't here that took the shot. Some of them much younger than me and much healthier than me. But what they want is a lot less people. In the country, I don't know how it is in Canada, but in this country, you can almost not shop at a grocery store if you want real food. The food supply is beyond terrible. So they're destroying health. They're reducing populations. When your health goes down, so does your brain function. For some reason, someone magically blew up the guide stones and then they just tore them down, but nobody quite knows what happened there. I'll tell you what happened. People became aware of it more than they used to be in the age of the internet. It's very similar to Sandy hoax and the Boston hoax. Those are two false flags that you never hear much about anymore. And the reason is because they were so thoroughly ripped up on YouTube in real time before they had the censorship control they have now. If you ever notice that, of all the false flags they've pulled, you almost hear nothing of those. They were thoroughly ripped apart in real time. And millions of people saw it happen. So that doesn't come up too much anymore. Meanwhile, they put on fake trials about someone who said something about some victim somewhere needs to go to jail. It's all Hollywood. It's all staged nonsense. This country has become something very different than it was when I was young. And I was born in the early 60s. So I'm Gen X.
Do you think that do you think Alex Jones is a good faith actor, or do you think he's compromised in some way? Or
I have a rule of thumb. Yep. If someone has hundreds of thousands of years, they're playing by the rules or they ain't playing.
Hundreds of thousands of years?
Yeah. If you have a large audience, you are playing by the rules or you're not playing.
Gotcha.
Media is controlled. It doesn't matter whether it's online. And you know what it's like to go on YouTube. Go ahead, do the wrong thing. A live stream will get pulled down while it's being recorded if you do something they don't like now. If you go watch something like Citizen Kane, regularly voted the best movie ever in Hollywood, what are they talking about? They're talking about how in the early 1900s, every paper in this country had already been co-opted and controlled by very few. If you haven't woke up, then you don't realize that people like Murdoch came in and totally destroyed what was left of any media in this country back in his day. And the people who run this world use the media in this country as a mouthpiece. If you want to hear real things, you would be better served to watch a movie where they're pre-echoing what they're doing than you would to turn on news.
Fair enough, man. Yeah.
We see a lot of people thought this was the information age, and I'm here to tell you this is not the information age. This is the age of deception. That's what we're living through right now. The good news is that all created things see their end. This too shall pass. But right now, people who like decent things, good things, who respect their fellow man and woman, a person like that who does nothing is going to allow evil things to get what they want. Now is the time to demand decency and to not take part in things that you think are unacceptable. Because for decades, most of us sat around and watched unacceptable become normal, to the point where when they dropped the Epstein files and admitted with revelation of method, because that's what they're doing, they're playing truth or consequences. If nothing is done about that, we will live in a world of the consequences. It's done intentionally. It's called revelation of method, and Michael Hoffman and James Shelby Downard are the men who showed us how that works. Now, in these files, when you open them up, and I won't because I'm not playing truth or consequences, but how is it that the victims go unredacted and the perpetrators are redacted? This is so heinous that the very people who perpetrated this are redacted. And that one little point alone should tell you who's running this place now. It is unacceptable. that the youngest among us and the females among us and the young men among us were subject to the things that they are openly admitting happened there. How do we live in a world where that's allowed to go on?
It's amazing. Yeah. Terrible. The redactions and the release of files has been a complete catastrophe.
A-list Hollywood people that have been implicated, what did they do? They sold their multi-million-dollar mansions at fire sale prices and went to countries where it's not so easy to pull them out by court order. We had one of them who was a daily talk show host, Ellen DeGeneres, one of the most popular entertainers in this country. Turns out her set was painted like Epstein's Island Temple.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
Turns out the Nickelodeon logo is the shape of Epstein's Island. I mean, on and on this goes.
Really? I didn't know that.
It's heinous and it's dark. And I'll tell you something about human beings, and I would not be surprised to learn that some of these people in charge are not human beings like we are. Listen to this. There was a test done in the early 60s with children, and what they wanted to find out is goodness, are you born with it or do you learn it? So what they did is they did a puppet show, and in the puppet show, one of the puppets needed help, and one of the puppets was mean to the person that needed help, and one of the puppets was kind and helped the person that needed help. 80 some or 90% of the children chose the puppet that helped, proving that as young babies, they came here with the good already in them. That reflects most of us in the chat right now, me sitting in this chair, and most of the people we know. Even if over time we know people who have turned bad, the point still exists that human beings are mostly good when we get here. And that is a big liability when we're facing people who will do anything, and they will do things that we would never do in our lives. It's like the story of Tibet. There was a whole nation there on a spiritual journey. From their government to everything else was built around their spiritual ideas, which centered around compassion, and China marched in and stomped them out, and the whole world watched. So this is a do or die kind of time in some ways, because most of us have decency in us and we're not willing to do heinous things. Well, the people we're up against, they do heinous things every day, apparently. But it's got to go.
Do you see more people awaking, and
Yes,
the awakening turning into somewhat of an uprising or a revolt?
I don't. If there is an uprising or revolt, there will be a lot of dead people quick. That's not what's going to change this. What changes this is a simple thing, a change of mind. When the majority of us change our minds, then this will all change. Because a mind change, you will not participate, you will not accept. That's what it takes. How much of the enemy's effort is spent trying to get you and me to be afraid and to think about what they want us to think about? Like, most of their time is spent on that very thing. What's that about? It's about controlling what you think and keeping you in a state of fear, if they can.
Well, it would be good to see that awakening, because my journey is.
And another thing I would mention is the division has been one of their best tools. I can see in the chat right now, someone from one generation is deriding an older generation. That's division. The reason they made up the generations the way they did is to divide us, so that we would identify with each other as different from one another.
Right. The groups, again, just like we were talking about earlier, right?
They did the same thing in the 60s. The word teenager didn't exist until Tavistock put it in.
Oh, of course they fucking did.
These are division tactics. And in my view, the worst kind of crime you can commit without doing something serious is to be divisive. Right now, if you see a person who values good and decency things, you should be holding that person's hand. Even if they're a different religion, I don't care what the difference is. If you both value decency, you should be in lockstep with one another right now. Because the people who don't value decency have everything else.
What sort of...
And let me say another thing, because
Yeah.
I'll answer, Mac. You're right. You're right. And I went through a period of time wondering how the greatest generation didn't do something. My grandparents were the greatest generation. Let me tell you something. Back then, my grandparents were so proud of this country, it never entered into their head that they needed to question anything. They had just stepped into a world war where they were told that America saved the world from goose stepping, saved the freedom of the world. They were the white knights of the world, and they earned it. They quit their jobs. They went to battle. They went around the country scraping up metal. All the women went to work, which was also social engineering, to help build the equipment they needed to supposedly win the war. When that was all over, everyone envied America, and the people that lived in America loved it at a level that I can't even describe to you. They had no inkling that there was any need to question the people that had guided them through World War II. And they should have. As a matter of fact, the man who did it was a 5-star general in disguise, because he's a new character now called Eisenhower. Go look at Eisenhower's exit speech where he warns the country, you're in trouble. The military-industrial complex has already got control. So that's why the greatest generation didn't do something about it.
Fair enough, man. Do you think
there was too much decency? It didn't enter their head that there were evil people at the top. They thought that the people at the top were just like them, decent human beings.
Do you think that there needs to be a change in political systems, governmental systems?
It's got to go. All of it's got to go. These are low vibrational systems, and low vibrational systems can't exist in a higher vibrational time. If you take a tuning fork at a high vibration and then bring a low vibration tuning fork next to it, it will not resonate. If you take another high vibrational tuning fork, it will resonate with it. We're heading into a higher vibrational time, as long as you don't let them jab you with low vibrational tools. Over 100 years ago, during the first so-called pandemic, Steiner, who was also an insider, wrote that 100 years ago that they are developing a shot that will destroy spirituality in human beings so completely that human beings won't even realize that spirituality is a possibility. 100 years ago. Those chemtrails over your head, they're trying to block what the sun gives us. They're trying to poison us, and they're trying to keep our vibration low and polluted with heavy metals. But we're not gone. We're still standing.
Interesting, man. Interesting. This has been an interesting discussion.
The thing that matters more than anything right now is don't be divisive. Look for other people who value decency and get together with them. Respect them. Do not get caught in the mainstream media trap of the blue-red mind virus, the religion mind virus, the sexuality mind virus, and see another human being. Because at the end of the day, together we stand, divided we fall. And what I have noticed is that the mainstream media has played us like a fiddle for generations now, keeping us divided, us and them, and we constantly buy into it. They play the race card, division. They play their gender games, division. The biggest one of all is the red-blue mind virus. And it's just unfathomable to me that people still join Democrat and Republican. How did all these supposed illegal people get here? Who let them in that are supposedly going to do terror cell activity? Wasn't that the blue team? Now, who's taking us to war in the Middle East that's going to spur the need for all those people to do terrorist act? You know, it's a game. Both sides have been playing in the same direction for my lifetime. It's got to go. There's no repairing something that low vibrationally broken.
And the war is already affecting the states specifically quite a lot. And especially with safety threats, who knows if there's some sort of, more terrorist attacks.
Even if there isn't, they'll make one up and they'll film it and they'll push it out, or they'll make it in AI just like they always do. And the other thing they're doing right now is trying to break everyone so nobody has money, because they want the universal basic income too. They want everybody to not be able to work so that they'll take a check from the government. When that happens, if you don't do what you're told, you don't get a check this month. They want digital money. So I've even seen white papers with digital money where it expires. If you don't spend this in a week, it's gone. That's slavery, man.
Sorry,
that is slavery.
Sorry, can you repeat that? Where did you see this?
It was in a white. Me and Jason covered some early white papers from the central bank digital currency, and one of the ideas in there was pre-programmed money that expired. Oh, the other thing that was in, that's nothing. The other thing that was in there, they wanted no ability to have a savings account and no ability for your children to inherit.
Oh, that's a big one. The inherent one. That would change everything.
You know who bought the most houses? I think it's the most, but a hell of a lot anyhow. BlackRock. Or more single family homes in this country than anyone else. The first time I ever saw the apartments.com advertisement, I got a chill down my spine.
Crazy. So what is their plan to do with all these houses?
Burn them to the ground. What do they usually do? They break you or make you not be able to afford your taxes. Then they come repossess it. Then they sell it at a fraction of what it was worth. They're just playing a shell game now. You'll be living in a freaking gulag apartment block if they get their way, but they're not gonna get their way.
And
you'll be eating bugs too. Have you noticed when you go into the supermarket now, the only thing that matters on the label is how much protein is in it? They've been working for, I don't know, over 10 years right now to convince you protein is the most important thing, because meat and hunting, they're going to try to outlaw that too. You'll be eating bugs to get your protein.
They want us eating bugs, eh? That's what it's come to.
Yeah, but only a few of us, because the rest got to go.
Right.
Can't be losing too many bugs.
Yeah, the idea of money that can expire is so scary.
The sad part of this is that we have been so beat down for so long that we've got to a point where the youngest generation is really quite helpless right now. They can't even read the Constitution of this country because nobody taught them how to read cursive. They can't read an analog clock. They can't do math in their head. And that is a direct result of the social engineering that has decimated education, among other things. So I would imagine the powers that be are holding their breath until Gen X is gone. Because once Gen X is gone, the last people who remembered actual freedom and decency will no longer exist in this world, in this country.
I've had that thought. Once a certain generation is cut off, so to speak, from existence, it will really change how things are perceived. So you think it's Generation X. Sorry, is that what you said? Generation X?
Yeah, Gen X is the last generation who saw better times, knows what it means to have true freedom, knows what it means to know how to do things, self-sufficient. The other thing is the information systems. When the last library in the world closes, that will be one of the saddest days ever, because a book holds its information until the end of time. Digital information is changed with a button push. You could pick up a digital text that was talking about a murderer, and someone somewhere could push a button on AI and say, change the word murderer to interesting man. Now the whole book is about an interesting man.
Yeah, that's
where all information is going, and it's worse than that, because right now, if I do a search here in Rhode Island and one of the people listening does the exact same search, we will not get the same return.
Right.
It's geography and the mapping of what groups you hang out with, because one of the laws of networking is birds of a feather flock together. So when you go on something like this, like I'm doing, and say things they don't like, they simply collect all the people listening and all the communications, and those birds of a feather just flocked together. Easiest map drawing ever. But AI has been busy creating the most complete dossiers on each of us that has ever been created. And that sets aside that most of the young generations have offered every aspect of their life to a social media platform like Facebook, which was put together by the CIA for that very purpose.
Interesting. Well, Crow, this has been an awesome discussion. I've really enjoyed this. I really hope that we can connect again sometime. Before you go, can you please let everyone know where they can find you, please?
Yeah, what I've done is I put up a private server because the censorship was unacceptable. So all Crrow777 work is at Crrow777radio.com. That is Crrow777radio.com. If you become a member there, you get access to all the forums and the chats. You get free access to the 2-hour film called Shoot the Moon. There's some astonishing telescope work in there. 7 lunar waves in the film, a litany of bizarre UFO-like things, and the first discovery of the so-called second sun that I filmed in 2015. Also, the images that we showed earlier, you can get access to those. And lastly, you get exclusive access to my solar work, because I no longer put my work on censorship platforms who claim control. But with that, I hope to see you guys come over and log in. Right now, we need to come together, and we don't need violence. We don't need to rise up. We need to come together and simply change our minds that what's been going on is no longer acceptable. And it is not acceptable, as it's so unacceptable. The people who are doing it have to hide in the shadows to do it. And it's time we all light a lighter and let the shadows go away.
Right on, man. I totally agree, and I respect a lot of the things that you said earlier. I respect your work, as I told you in the pre-show. I enjoy it quite a bit. So it's been a real pleasure finally meeting you, and I'll be in touch sometime, and hopefully we can do it again sometime.
Thanks for having me on, Jordan, and for everybody listening. I want to wish you all a happy, healthy, and higher-minded new era. We're walking through that door now.
Right on, my friend. Thank you so much. You enjoy the rest of your day, okay?
Cheers.
All right. Cheers, my friend. Well, there he is, my friend, Crrow777. It was such a pleasure finally meeting him. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I'd love to bring him back sometime. As you guys know, I bring on new guests for give or take an hour, see what they're like, see what they're into, and yeah, that was great. That was really great. I really enjoyed meeting him. Really interesting guy. So thanks to Crrow777 again for his time, and thanks to all the supporters, listeners, viewers, watchers, supporters, and subscribers. I think it said supporters twice. But please, if you guys can make sure to subscribe to the Divulgence podcast on Rumble, YouTube, we're trying to get those numbers up. Hopefully we can get up to 1K, maybe by the end of April. And you can also get us on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your audio podcasts. And yeah, I think that's it, other than please check out Ollie Demigard and the Demigardian Experience. Check the episode description for a link for a discount for his Bali retreat. And I think that's happening in April. Yeah, so that's coming up real soon. Also, make sure to check out the Scott Horton Academy, which is, if you know Scott Horton and you know what he does, this is such a great tool and learning resource for people. For a discount for you guys, for the listeners and watchers, you can go to scotthortonacademy.com/divulgence. And I think that's it for now, guys. We got a show tomorrow on, I think we're doing moon landing hoax, theories, flat earth, space, different stuff like that tomorrow with Adam from the Truth Desk. And then Saturday, I'm off. Saturday's my birthday. Sunday, I think Sunday we have a show, and then maybe the 23rd. But yeah, we have a bunch of other shows coming up over the next little while. But yeah, thanks again for everyone in the chat. I appreciated the different comments and everything. And yeah, make sure to please subscribe to the Divulgence Podcast, man. That's all you got to do. That's all you need to do for now. Thanks again, guys. Take